Hello everyone, my name is Jill Sirikantraporn. I'm very honored to be invited to speak to you today, and I'd like to thank all the organizers of the event for inviting me. To start my talk, I would like to ask you some questions. How many of you have had an experience with a heartbreak? How many of you are currently recovering from a heartbreak? How many of you are in a relationship and afraid of a heartbreak? And how many of you are not in a relationship in order to avoid a heartbreak? My guess is that these are some of the common stories surrounding the issue of a heartbreak that many of us have either experienced or are experiencing. Given how common it is, my talk today is indeed about a heartbreak. And it is also about relational resilience and post-heartbreak healing. To talk about a heartbreak, it is important to talk about the heart and why it is such an important symbol for love and relationship, and why an ending of a relationship can feel like our heart is breaking. We do not survive and develop in isolation. We are physically and psychologically wired to connect with each other, literally to survive, to grow, and to learn and to thrive. This is from connecting with our mom in the womb, our caregivers throughout our childhood, and to connecting with friends and romantic partners later on in life. Let's see what science can tell us about this desire to connect. When we are in love, our brain is filled with the surge of feel-good hormones, such as oxytocin or the love hormone, and the decrease of stress hormones such as cortisol. And this is one reason why the experience of love registers in us as pleasure that makes us feel so warm, so good, and secure, and less stressed overall. Moreover, according to health science, healthy relationships of love and affection, intimacy, and attachment can literally save lives by lowering the risk of a heart disease, decreasing the risk of a heart attack, which in turn increases our longevity and quality of life. So yes, love and the heart do not just have a symbolic relationship. And being in love doesn't just make us feel amazing. A good love does make our physical heart stronger and help us live longer. And that's part of why the COVID-19 pandemic has taken such a huge toll on our physical and mental health, as increased isolation has kept us apart physically and socially. We have had to find different ways to connect with each other emotionally and to take care of our hearts. Considering how connected we are, we affect each other in the best ways possible, as well as the worst ways possible. And our hearts can break more ways than one. This might be from an unwanted breakup with our romantic partner, and it might be a loss of a loved one who dies. Heartbreaks, therefore, are a very natural part of life. When a relationship ends, it can feel like a shock to our whole body and mind. It is the reaction that makes us feel like we don't want to lose that connection. And it can make us want to do and try everything we know and we can to maintain it. In fact, the pain from a heartbreak looks quite similar in our brain to the reaction to an acute physical pain. No wonder a heartbreak hurts. Apart from the biological aspect of it, our society plays a role in how we approach intimacy, intimate relationships, and breakups. The messages we are bombarded with about romantic relationships create the expectation that a romance should be perfect and should be never ending. We fall head over heels, we live happily ever after, and now and forever, or till death do us part. These narratives lead us to emphasize and expect the foreverness and unchangeableness of a relationship, although real-life relationships are quite different. Changes are inevitable. No long-term relationship stays the same exactly over the years. We change, our partners change, the dynamic of the relationship changes. Even in couples that stay together for a long time, their relationships go through the constant process of shaping and reshaping as they navigate through the ups and downs of life together. And these changes can strengthen as well as weaken the relationship. And definitely, not all relationships are meant to last. This puts us in a dilemma. On the one hand, we are given the idea that a relationship should be stable and should be forever. On the other hand, relationships do change and do end. And because most of the social narratives we get are mainly about falling in love and expecting it to last, we are rarely taught or trained or equipped to cope and deal with the inevitable change and the ending of a relationship. This is the dilemma that is the inspiration for my talk today. In hopes to offer another narrative, what I would call relational resilience. We compare an intimate relationship to a dance. Like love, dance can feel so intoxicating, can be so addictive and unstoppable when it flows well. A dance can also have missteps, hurt toes, twisted arms, and it may require a change of tune, and it may fall apart even when we wish it would never stop. Relational resilience, then, is not about never ever experiencing a heartbreak or a dance that never stops. Neither is it about shielding ourselves from a heartbreak by denying our chance of entering into a fulfilling relationship and a good dance. It is about understanding and accepting the changing nature of any relationship and learning to bounce back and thrive from the change that might be stressful. I see that there are 3 common paradoxes of an intimate relationship. And the key to relational resilience might mean to learn to live in the space between these paradoxes. Paradox 1, individuality and togetherness paradox, and the healthy space in between. Love songs, movies, series, or dramas often lead us to believe that in true love, we should lose ourselves in the relationship, that we should feel like someone comes to complete us, that from 2 of us, we should become one. However, in any togetherness, there is a necessary space for both parties to breathe and to maintain their individuality, where they can feel complete within themselves, where they can choose to give and take, where they can spend some important alone time, and where they are free to pursue and express who they are, while also supporting their partner to pursue and express who they are This space is very crucial, especially when a relationship needs to change or end. Each partner's sense of themselves as an individual will help them cope well with the change. Paradox 2, vulnerability and trust paradox, and the healthy space in between. What we often seek in an intimate relationship is that we can feel that we are accepted by our lover for all that we are, including our flaws, bad past, dark secrets, deepest scars. What often comes with this is a yearning to share our vulnerability and all shades of life with someone. And this requires us to trust that the person will always be there, will always show their love and support, and will never, ever change. However, because change is inevitable, the space between vulnerability and trust is necessary so we don't feel threatened by the changing nature of our relationship. And this space can be fulfilled by self-trust, self-acceptance, self-compassion, and also can be filled by other close and nurturing relationships in our lives. Paradox 3, expectation and acceptance paradox, and the healthy space in between. The way I see it is every relationship comes with a whole host of expectations, such as, I expect that you will be everything for me. I expect that you will never change. I expect that you will know what I need or what I want at all times. I expect that your love for me will never change. I expect that our passion for each other will always be as intense as when we first met. As we can see, absolutely not all of our expectations will be met, and definitely not by one person. Therefore, the space between expectation and acceptance is crucial for both partners to practice flexibility and respectful communication of their expectations, as well as acceptance of unmet expectations. And the space in between is where we learn to fulfill our own needs and wants in other ways, such as taking care of oneself, adjusting our expectations, having loving friends, family, and community around from which we can fulfill some of our needs. I believe that if we practice relational resilience in finding the healthy space between these three common paradoxes, we can learn to practice self-love and self-respect, and to have the insight to gauge whether we are in a mutually supportive and flourishing relationship. And also to be aware of any red flag when our space is being disrespected, and to know when to walk away from an abusive and toxic relationship if we happen to be in one. With relational resilience, we can learn to accept that change in a relationship is to be expected. We can also hopefully be more equipped to face and to cope with a drastic change, such as an unwanted heartbreak, and to help us heal and grow from a post-heartbreak crisis. Because our intimate relationship can often feel so all-consuming and taking up all of our time and energy that we forget to nurture self-love as well as other relationships in our lives. By fostering relational resilience means that we have the insight to maintain self-love and other good relationships in life, and to know that healing and growing from a heartbreak takes place in a supportive environment. So in times of crisis, this would prompt us to turn to other relationships, such as supportive friends and family. In addition to human relationships, I would say that other types of relationships, such as those with our pets, with good books, and with nature, can be equally important, fulfilling, and healing. In conclusion, the key to foster relational resilience is the awareness of the common paradoxes in romantic relationships, and to live well in the spaces between these paradoxes by practicing self-love, cherishing our mutual growth with our partners, and nurturing multiple other connections with other supportive people in our lives. All the while taking the time to cultivate ourselves and to do the things that we enjoy and are passionate about. This way, we are more resilient to cope with the inevitable ebbs and flows of any relationship in our lives. So instead of breaking, our hearts can transform. Thank you very much for your attention and interest in my talk.